good evening to you all, and welcome to Thursday night. Welcome to Thursday night here in this, my wonderful kitchen, or my rather messy kitchen, but whatever. We're here. Welcome. Good evening, Tiny Dragon. I see you hiding there. Hey! Thank you for the resub, Icarus. 20 months! 20 months. Continue to enjoy those emotes and my undying affection. Mwah. Mwah. And of course, naturally, the side camera stopped working. There we go. To wake up my cell phone. Wonderful technical jiggery pokery here. But welcome! Welcome! We're going to be developing some film tonight. We're going to be developing some film. This was film that I shot with my my last shoot with McKenna. And so I'm looking forward to see how that turns out. You'll see the results next week. So what we've got is on this wonderful little roll of Ilford Delta 100 medium format. Well, about half the roll. I had some camera issues when I was shooting with this, so about between a 1/3 and 1/2 of this roll are misfires as I tried to figure out what the hell was going on with my camera. It had a setting I didn't know about, and once I figured it out, everything was good. So, you're technically working still, just popping in and out. No problem. We'll be here for the next hour and a half, 2 hours. So, I will happily be background noise while you do the work thing. But yes, I'm going to be developing some film, and because this is not artist back alley, we can take our time. I don't have to have everything already prepared and ready to go because we've only got an hour and we just need to, get moving, get with the program here. So we'll do things slow and leisurely, and you'll get to see me prepare all the chemicals and put the film into the developing tank here and all of that fun stuff. So that is the plan. Gonna agitate, but with chill. So yes, it'd be gentle agitation, gentle, calm, nice deep cleansing agitation. Breathe in and out, and all of that fun stuff. So, if you are unfamiliar with my work and what I do, well, I go by Brian J. French. I'm a professional photographer. And if you want to check out more of what I do, just type in !art, and it will take you to my card page, in which you'll get the links to my website, Instagram, Vero, Patreon, Redbubble shop, all there. So have a look. If you like what you see, let me know. And, if you're really feeling generous, throw some money at me. Support my art. It does mean a lot, especially those Patreon and Twitch subscribers. They do help keep me in supplies with all of the chemicals that are right there, ready to be mixed up and prepared. Yeah, that's actually, I don't know if I don't say it very often, but the money that I earn from Twitch subscriptions, it goes right into my, I have a designated bank account that is just for photography stuff. So that's where it all goes. So thanks in part to your help. You guys keep me making art. So very, very appreciated. And yes, good evening, Live Deaths. I did see you there. Develop that film and drink water. Oh, don't worry. We've got the hydration system well and truly in hand here. So yeah, let's see what we get. So we're going to develop some film. Now, the only chemical that I made beforehand was the developer. And I had made that about almost 8 hours ago. And that's the only chemical that you have to make beforehand. Now, there are if you're developing black and white film at home, it's just something that actually anybody can do. It's just you don't need a dark room to develop film. You need a dark room if you're going to make prints, like photographic prints. But at home, you don't need a darkroom. All you need is a developing tank system and this lovely film changing bag. And if you're completely unfamiliar with this process, I'm going to do the whole thing from start to finish. If you've seen me do it a million times, well, sit back and enjoy is all I'm going to say. So, with that, there was actually one thing I forgot to do before I started the stream, and that was hook up the rod I'm going to hang the wet film off of when it's completed. I kind of need to do that, so I'm just actually going to be right back. I'll be back in a minute. Alright, back we are. I just remembered, I'm going through the mental checklist in my head of what I need to do, what all the prep, and I didn't do the very, very last thing, which is I need to have a place to hang the film off of once it's all done, and I have a shower rod that I put over my bathtub so that it has something to, the excess chemicals can drip off of. That's kind of important. This developing bag's supposed to be great for ASMR folks. How so? I don't think I'm quite making the connection. No. In any event. So. Oh, the crinkly sound. Possibly. So what goes into this? What makes up this developing tank? It's made up of multiple parts. So we'll start. We have a empty tank, but in that tank goes this spool, which is what I'm going to wind the film off. So I'm going to take this film and I'm going to wind it onto this spool. Now, these plastic spools are adjustable. Right now, it's set for medium format film, which is what I'm going to develop. But if you're developing 35mm, it shrinks down. Now we're back into medium format setting. So this goes on a sort of plastic spindle like that. That goes into the tank like so. And then we have the funnel. This is a light, tight funnel. This sits on top and goes into that plastic rod in the center. This clicks into place, so this thing is not going to pop off while you're doing the agitating. And of course, the lid to keep all the lovely goodness, all the chemicals inside that we use for the entire developing process. Now we have to get that film off of here and onto that white plastic reel. And you have to do that in the dark. Enter the film changing bag. It's a double-lined bag, and you put all the components of the tank in the bag and the film, and completely by touch, we're going to take the film off here and put it on the reel, put it all together, and we'll be good to go. This, when you're learning how, when I was learning how to do this in high school with 35 millimeter film, so there's the opening. When I was doing this with a 35 millimeter film, this was the hardest part of the entire process. And now I'm going to do it. I don't know, I've developed hundreds of rolls of film. And then after this, we're going to prepare our chemicals. All right. And if I know live deaths, he is going to hit the hydrate button. As I'm arms deep in this thing and can't do anything about it. So, just hit the button now, live deaths. That's a preemptive hydrate. I'll be sure to do it once we're done here. Ah! The bot beat live deaths to it. I feel I'm sorry, live deaths. You're a little predictable. You're gonna have to change that. All right. So all the components are in here. We zip up. We Velcro up. And how we enter this bag is that we've got two sleeves here. And it's double lined. They've got really, really tight elastic. And it's going to form a very tight seal around my arms to try to minimize any light leaks that get... any light that tries to make its way inside. Yep. Now remember, this part is all done utterly by touch. Because you will ruin the film if light hits it. So I will try to describe as best I can what I'm doing. Alright. So I've got the film in hand. I've got the spool ready. Hats off and a hydrate. Thank you. Thank you, Live Deaths. I will get a hat in a moment. Well done. I'll do that right after I finish putting the film on the spool here. All right. That deserves a tip of the cap, Live Deaths. So I will get that in just a moment once we're done here. All right. Just in the process of freeing the film from its confines. Oh, nope. Here comes the Oh, thank you, my dear. Live Death says, give him a sip of water. Alright, we have liberated the film from its original confine. Are you the film? Yes, you are. There's a paper backing that's on medium format rolls of film that is used as a guide, depending on the camera that it's in, which is pretty unique to this type of film format. It's not on 35mm. All right, we're putting it on the spool now. There are guides on the spool to help with the getting in part. There we are. And now we move up. All right. We are now loading. There are little ball bearings on both sides of the spool that help pull the film forward. When I get near the end of the roll of film, it gets a little tight. That is because the last thing that is holding the film to the original reel, the original film roll, is a little piece of Scotch tape. So we have to peel that Scotch tape off, get it off. Once we do, we can move the rest of the way. And the film is now completely on the spool. I'm going to put that black plastic rod. But the assembly is now in the tank. The funnel is going on now. Just clicked into place. We're going to put the black lid on it that holds the chemicals when we begin the developing. Et voila. And so, now the film is in here. The entire thing is in here. And all that's left is the paper backing and the piece of Scotch tape that was the last thing keeping it on the original reel here. So there we are. That is how we do it. So now I'm going to get this folding table and the changing bag out of the way so that I have room to develop, because things are going to get a little crazy. Don't worry, I'll be wearing the hat some more. Stay. Alrighty, right. There we go. Cheers, live deaths. All right. So now the entire roll of film is in here and it's ready to be developed. I would show you, but I'd ruin the film if I did that. We're just going to put that off to the side for now, because now I got to get the chemicals ready. So in black and white film developing, I use 5 chemicals, but the first 3 are the absolutely mandatory ones. So it's developer, stop bath, and fixer. Those are required. And then there's 2 optional ones that I use, one called Wash Aid and one called Ilfotol. So I shoot exclusively for black and white film, I shoot exclusively with Ilford, and I use Ilford chemicals. you can use whatever black and white chemicals you want, black and white film chemicals you want. When I was in college, I shot Ilford film, and the campus had Kodak Developer, Kodak Stop Bath, and then third-party brand fixer and wash aid and rinsing agent. So it's you don't have to be specific all the way through. I just do because, I mean, it just makes my life easier. It's like Ilford film, Ilford chemicals, all right, done. So all the chemicals, except for developer, can be prepared right before you start developing. You have to make your developer several hours before you start at a minimum, because most black and white developers come in powder form that you then have to dissolve, and they dissolve at a certain temperature, a pretty warm temperature. For Ilford, the general all-purpose developer that I use is called Ilford ID11. It comes in a two-part powder. It comes in an A powder and a B powder, which you have to mix at separate times. And those dissolve at 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius. If you try to mix those chemicals at a colder temperature, if you try to do it in room temperature water, it won't dissolve. So you mix that up at 104 degrees minimum, it dissolves, and then you have to wait for it to come back down to room temperature, because if you try to use 104 degree developer, well, I hope you like celluloid soup, because that's what you're gonna get. 104 degree water, you are going to cook your film. It'll just, as soon as you, you'll be a very sad panda or hedgehog if you try to use fresh, right out of the mixed developer, 104 degrees. Black and white film is very, very forgiving, but not that forgiving. You can develop most black and white film within a range of about 58 degrees to 75. 68 is the ideal. So that's what we're going to try to do today. And so yeah, the developer has to be done well beforehand. All the other ones can be done right now, and that's what we're going to do. So there. All right. I said Stop Bath is also required, so I have Ilford Ilfo Stop. I'm not sponsored by Ilford, but hey, if somebody from Ilford out there is watching, so the mixing ratio for Stop Bath is 1 to 19. So it's 1 part chemical to 19 parts water. Fortunately, that developing tank that we're going to be using is a 20-ounce tank. So, do some simple math. 1 ounce of Ilfo Stop to 19 ounces of water. So, I am going to take my measuring cup that I have marked with Stop. And I'm going to go over here, just off screen, to my Brita pitcher, and put 19 ounces of water in here. You can use just regular tap water. It's recommended, strongly suggested, that you use, at the very least, filtered water, or even better yet, distilled water, because regular tap water could contain elements in there that could adversely affect the chemicals, depending on where you are when you're doing this. Alright, we are at 19. Just at 19, so let's get our our chemicals on here. And if any of you out there watching have any questions about this, or what, you know, if you want to know anything more about it, please just go right on the chat. The active ingredient in Stop Bath, incidentally, is citric acid. But I don't necessarily suggest that you guys, you know, if you're doing this at home, I don't want you putting orange juice in your... Oh, citric acid is orange juice. No. All right. And our Stop Bath is made. Next up is going to be our fixer. That concentration of fixer is going to be a little different. So let's put the Stop Bath off to the side. Next up is our rapid fixer. And this is 1 to 4. 1 part chemical to 4 parts water. So again, that'll be 4 ounces of water to 16 ounces of, well, 4 ounces of the fixture chemical to 16 ounces of water. So I'll just magically disappear off screen again. Do I have 16? Just about. There we are. 16 right on the nose. Excellent. And next will be the rapid fixer. Are you brand new? Yes, you are, because I used the last of you the last time I developed film. Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. Fixer's the only chemical of all of these that actually has a smell. Fixer smells very much, but is not. It has a very strong vinegar smell. That is how I can tell the developer and the fixer. How I can tell them apart. Because when they're fully mixed, when fixer and developer are fully mixed, they look identical. They look like clear liquid. But how I can tell them apart is that developer has no smell. Unless it's rancid. Then it reeks to high fucking heaven. And the vinegar smell from the fixer. So rancid developer, just ugh. I used to be a lab aide in college. That was what I did for work study, was that I was the one who made sure that we had the chemicals all freshly prepared and everything like that. But you know, if somebody else was also... I wasn't the only lab aide, there were others. But if somebody forgot to, like, empty the developer out during the semester, like the semester break, or God forbid, like the end of the summer, and they just didn't bother cleaning that out, you'd come back and the developer tank, where gallons of developer were, it would turn brown, and it would just, ugh. The smell was just, ugh. Ugh. Alright, the next chemical we are going to make is... We're going to make ilfotol first, because I can only make that a liter at a time. Ilfotol is the last chemical I use in the process. The analogy that I like to use, if any of you out there have dishwashers, if you use a chemical called Jet Dry, is typically the brand name, and that Jet Dry makes it so that you don't get water spots on like your glasses or your dishes. That's what ilfotol does, but for film. It prevents water spots from appearing on the film as it dries. So it's the same idea as Jet Dry, but we're going to make the ilfotol first because the amount that I need is so frickin' microscopic. And what I mean by microscopic is that, okay, for this ilfotol, to make 1 liter of solution, it is 1 to 200. So 1 part this to 200 parts water, which means the smallest measurable quantity that I can make is 1 liter. So that would translate, if you have metric on the brain, 5 milliliters of this stuff to 1 liter of water. So we're going to... I'm going to pour 1 liter of water into this brown jug that I have labeled ilfotol. And because I only use so little of this stuff at any given time, the last bottle I bought lasted me for 8 years. And I think I got maybe halfway through it before it finally went bad on me. Like a few months ago, I was developing film. And I'm like, why does this... Because normally it looks like, it's clear. And I'm like, ooh, why does this chemical now stink and, suddenly look like semen? Why are you looking cloudy like that? Like, oh, I bought this 8 years ago and it finally went bad. Oh, that would do it. So we have our 1 liter of water. So that's going to go right into the jug here. And because I'm using such a small amount of this chemical, that's why I have a syringe. A syringe that it's a 10 milliliter syringe. So I just filled this up halfway with the chemical, and I'll put it right into the jug here, and I've got my working solution. Oh yes, there we go. Just a little bit more. Okay. And we're just going to take this and put it right in here. And there's my ilfotol. Alright. And the last one I'll prepare is the wash aid. And I'll explain what that does a little later on. But this also uses the same concentration, 1 to 4. Same concentration as the fixer. Now, if this was an artist back, if I was doing an artist back alley raid train, I would have had already all these chemicals ready to go. Just like, get, boom, 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 done. Alright, so we're going to fill this container up with 16 ounces of water. Or if you guys, any of you are out there are fans of the shouty TikTok cook B. Dylan Hollis, water! At least that's what my spouse calls him, the shouty TikTok cook. Alright, so far so good. Alright. $16 ounces. And we're just gonna fill that right up to 20. You are actually brand new. Alright. Yep, I'm going to need to open you up a little more. Get you all the way up to 20. Almost there. There we are. And you, we will just put off to the side for the time being, because we're not going to need you until very late. Alright, the only thing that is left for us to do is to prepare our developer and actually develop some damn film. But I like showing you guys on one of my own streams, you know, the prep work that goes involved into something like this. You know, I know that at least one of you out there finds this interesting, so I'm glad to share that information. So the last thing we need to do is to get the developer ready, and then if we have to, adjust our temperatures, our film chemicals temperatures, because you want them, at least these three, fixer, stop, and developer, you want them to be about the same. That way you get them. That's the way you get your most even developing. So with the developing, there are 3 ways you can do it. Let me just grab the jug here. So in here, I prepared earlier 1 liter of developer. You can develop one of 3 ways. You can do what's just called a straight, which you just, I would pour 20 ounces of developer and go right into the tank and just use it like that. I don't like that method because, well, it's the quickest way to develop film. So I mean, it's great if you're in a hurry. I've done it a few times. I don't really like it because I think that it needs to cook for a little while longer to get, the most out of your film. So then there's the second way, which is probably the most common way, and then the way I learned how to do it in college, which is 1-to-1. So 1 part stock solution to 1 part water, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 10 ounces of developer to 10 ounces of water. And then there's the 1 to 3 method, which can also be done. You know, you get good results like that too. So 1 part developer to 3 parts water. That's the longest. And you know, if you have all the time in the world, go right ahead. But I learned in college and in high school 1 to 1. So that's been ingrained in my head. So that's what we're gonna do. Set my developer measuring cup here. I'll put 10 ounces of water. Is that 10? That is 10 on the nose. Very good. And I'll put 10 ounces in here. Okay, we are at 20. Last thing I do is check the temperature of the developer, because that is going to determine what how long this needs to develop for. The temperature of your developer is going to determine the time. Now, I am looking for 68 degrees exactly, 28 degrees Celsius. That would give me an 11-minute developing time. How do I know that? Because the little cardboard box that was on that the film came in when I bought it has that information on it. But also, it's on the box of the Ilford developer, and also you can just go right to Ilford's website. But I have a feeling that's going to be a little bit cooler than 68 because of how I have the air temperature in the apartment. So I need one last thing, which I forgot to grab. I will be back in less than a minute. This is not a hairdryer. Absolutely not. This is not a hairdryer. This is a film chemistry adjustment device.
Talk about you, Gan. You want a showdown? Better come with it. I'm ready to spit it. Place in my home before you even lit it.
Let's see what my temperature is.
You ain't got the fame to even claim. How you think our town got the name? You must be high if you want to rule. No lie, 'cause I'm a screw you punk, and you can try the new meaning of clue.
Are we actually at 68? Am I not going to have to do this? I'm going to give that a minute. I can't believe that I refuse to believe that it is actually 68 degrees without me needing to adjust anything. No, it's not. It's not 68. Because my fixer temperature is at 65. I'm going to give that a moment. In the meantime, we can get the star of our show out here. And just as a courtesy warning to all of you, once I start developing, there's gonna be a lot of running water coming out of this thing. So I suggest if you have to piss, go do it now. Otherwise, forever hold your pee. Yeah. I want to raise the temperature of my stop and my fixer. So I am going to mute my microphone so that you don't hear the roar of this film chemistry adjustment device, temperature adjustment device. So you don't hear the roar of that, so.
That's enough anguish. It's like Spanglish, the way you're twisting up the language. You need more savage just to be average. Need more than a bandage when I chop your cabbage. Your pork sandwich, slice it into cold cuts. You show guts by showing up, but so what? Try and go nuts in this matchup with no luck. Know what? You get served like coffee and donuts. But hold up, it's gotta be a battle for the ages. Chronicled for many pages by 7 sages. Through several stages as we wage this. Altering nature from heavens to glaciers. But I just took your spot using my hook shot. All your crooks just flop. That's the storybook plot. Thought you could look hot, turned out you would not. Put a stop to this pot roast. Watch this butcher rot. Cause yo, you ain't motherfucking G. You a fake thug in actuality. Your pen's crying from all the wax screed. You ain't learned how to face reality. In the sea of your own stupidity. Ain't even sharper than plastic cutlery. You need to heed all your failed history. Speaking implicitly, you gotta fucking flee. That's right, he ain't a motherfucking G. He a fake thug in actuality. His pen's crying from all the wax screed. And he ain't learned how to face reality. Now in the sea of his own stupidity. Not even sharper than plastic cutlery. He better heed all his failed history. Speaking implicitly, he gotta fucking flee. Take this. Take this. Take this. Take this.
My father's holding a banquet for the Gerudo leaders. They've come from the desert to make a treaty of peace, although I have terrible doubts about their leader's motives. He's a sorcerer. Who knows what sort of spell he'll put us under.
Temperature is starting to climb a little bit, so I'll be back when it's done.
Our plans have been executed perfectly, my lord. So you put the Serpine roots in the King's Goblet.
I am genuinely surprised that my developer chemical is just a hair under 68 degrees. I mean, I guess that's only because I made it just a few hours ago, so it hasn't gone back down to 65, which is the normal temperature in here. So I only need to fire this for like maybe 30, 45 seconds. Alright, we are good to go. So now you've seen me do all that prep. Now we can finally begin to develop. And once this developing process starts, I'm committed. I have to see this through to the end. So if any emergencies happen, stream connection starts to get shitty, I start losing it, my apologies. But once this begins, you cannot stop. So, for you out there watching, I'm going to follow along the steps throughout this process. You'll see where I am down below here. So we're going to start with the developer. Now, I know, just again, Ilford Delta 100 speed film, doesn't matter whether it's medium format or 35mm, Ilford Delta 100 speed film at 30... Ilford Delta 100 speed film at 68 degrees using ID11 developer is a development time of 11 minutes. That is a number that is ingrained in my skull. 68 degrees on the nose, exactly. So, alrighty, let's bring our camera in here. Let us take the lid off. Now I don't have to worry about light getting in because this funnel here has already it's clicked into place. So I don't have to worry about light leaks. So here we go. On your mark, get set. Switch to my right hand. And we are underway. And there's 11 minutes on the clock. And what we do is we agitate this. We constantly agitate this for 30 seconds. For the first 30 seconds, and then we are going to agitate this for 10 seconds at the top of every minute. And what this is doing is it is covering the entire roll of film, and the light reactive silver is reacting to the developer. And we do a light slam on this when we're done agitating to bring any and all air bubbles to the surface. We don't want air bubbles on the film because it means developer is not hitting that film, which means we're going to get uneven developing. So here we are at the 10-minute mark. 10 seconds. So what this is doing is that it's reacting with the silver nitrate that's on the film, the silver compounds that are onto it, and they're drawing them out of the film. If on images that have highlights, more of the silver will be packed in there to give us those highlights. Any place that's in shadow, more silver is going to come out. Next, agitation. Well, that is going on. Let's do a shout out. Actually, so I don't have to do this. Yeah, I know. doing a shout out to Tiny Dragon on Fire for creating the graphics that you see here on my Be Right Back screen and the starting soon and the end. She's the one who drew that sketch of me screaming, "Constant agitation!" That design is also on merch in my Redbubble shop. So if you want Constant Agitation t-shirts, you can go to my Redbubble store and find them there. And also give Tiny Dragon on Fire a follow. She's a wonderful person, an amazing artist. Her weekly art streams are a delight. So go do it. Now this is not a quick process, as you well know. So from the time I pour the developer in here, from the time it is completely finished and ready to be hung up to dry, it's about 35 minutes. And and in between agitation cycles, you just walk around, listen to music. I don't know, do whatever it is. Do whatever it is you do. When I develop film off stream, I usually do this in my bathroom. We have my spouse and I, we have an apartment that has 2 bathrooms in it, and one of them is the designated that is my bathroom / film processing area. It made for interesting times in our last apartment where we only had the 1 bathroom. And it's just like, I'm sorry, honey. You're just gonna have to hold in that shit because having film. Photography fact. Thank you, Tiny Dragon. All right, let's go to my list here. Let's see. I've done that before. Okay. So our photography fact for you, Tiny Dragon on Fire, has to do with photography flashes. Now, I'm sure you've probably seen in movies or even old, older photography. You've probably seen the image of somebody huddled beneath a camera that had a long sort of accordion-like lens, and the photographer was huddled under a curtain or some piece of fabric. And if there was a flash involved, you'd see the photographer's arm hold up this tray, and there'd be some powder in here, and it would ignite, and that would create the flash for those early photographs. So those first camera flashes were made out of a mixture of potassium chloride and aluminum. So this mixture would create a bright light when it was introduced to a spark. However, you can find some historical records of some unfortunate mishaps with camera flashes, because if they weren't properly mixed, you'd have some pretty violent explosions. I don't know how many of you out there have read the Goosebumps books. But say one of the earliest Goosebumps books, Say Cheese and Die. There you go. All you need to have is this poor old Victorian photographer, getting ready to take a family portrait or whatever, and the flash goes off, and boom. So yeah. That's how you got, those were the earliest camera flashes for you, Tiny Dragon. potassium chloride and aluminum. Almost saltpeter. Now we have, you know, UV lights on cameras, or you see sometimes photographers have the big old lens flash units sitting on top of the camera. Yeah, I always think camera phone flashes are always too bright. They're uncontrolled. They're uncontrolled units. You can't modulate them or adjust them in any way, as opposed to a proper flash unit that's sitting on top of a camera or a studio flash, where you can properly adjust your light output. So as we're getting down here to the last 90 seconds or so of the first step, which is the developer, what's going to happen is when the timer hits 0, we are going to immediately dump out the developer and put the stop bath in. And you do that very quickly. Otherwise, this will just keep developing. And so you pour the stop bath in, and it does what it says on the tin. It stops the developing process dead in its tracks, with the active ingredient, as I said, in stop bath, as citric acid. Final minute of this first round of agitation. So what you're looking for is a rest... Oh. Get out! Looking for the rest development. I ought to freaking... Oh. I forgot to get my rinse water on. That's what I forgot to do. But don't worry, we'll get that in just a minute. Developer is out. Stop bath is in. Now the stop bath is in for a minimum of 15 seconds, but I like to go in there 30 to a minute. Yeah, you are, you terror. You're not a tiny dragon on fire. You're a goose. You're a tiny goose on fire. So I do this constant agitation for about, 30, 45 seconds. Which is usually about 10 or 15 of these inversions. What is a goose but a modern dinosaur relative to the dragon? Touché. Another 20 seconds or so of this. See? You're agitated! I'm helping! When I eventually meet you in real life, I'm gonna fucking hug you so hard. And also curse your name for these atrocious puns. Alright, stop bath is done. Next step is fixer. Now this is usually a 3 to 5 minute step. And it follows the same procedure as the developer. Constant agitation for the first 30 seconds, and then agitation for 10 seconds at the top of every minute. So I have a 4-minute timer set, so we'll just get on that. So what the fixer is doing, it is exactly what it says. It's fixing the negative image to the celluloid and now making it safer exposure to light. So what the fixer does chemically is that whatever unused silver is that's still remaining in the film is coming out. That's something that I normally do, and I forgot to do, as I was having so much fun with you people, is get my rinse water up and going. And I need my rinse water to be 68 degrees. I want it to be able to match. Not required, but recommended. So it doesn't dispose of bodies or clean up crime scenes or lost? No, it doesn't. It's not curtains. All right, we're starting to come down. I can actually leave this in here. Get you a chemical, get them do both. Baking soda and vinegar. Alright. So I have the timer in here set for 4 minutes, but I can actually leave it in here for another minute after that. Man, this water is considerably... As long as I get it down to 70, I'll be fine. It's 72 at the moment. Like, are you broken? Alright, so one more agitation cycle. I'm watching the timer on the bottom here. Yeah, that is really chilly. I mean, that's not chilly at all. I mean, that's significantly warmer than... Alright. Okay, that's 70. I'm not going to complain about it too much. Alright. As long as I was getting earlier, like, wild swings of, like, whoa. So, at this point, you could be finished. You would let this run under the rinse water for 15 to 20 minutes and try to get all the fixer out. But this is where the next chemical is going to come into play. So the next chemical I'm going to use is called Washade. And what that does is it's going to shorten my final rinse time. So as I said, just don't drink the yellow stuff. Good evening, Steph. What the Washade does is it aids in washing. It aids in washing by getting rid of the residual fixer. So that my final rinse time will be cut down from 15 to 20 minutes to 5. Thank you so much for stopping by, my dear Icarus. I will see you later. Enjoy the rest of your night. Alright, and that is the end of the first rinse. Just a minute. So now we're going to move into Washade. Which, yet again, another clear liquid. So what this is going to do is the Washade actually needs... Washade is kind of... That's kind of it. That's not a bad analogy. So for the Washade, it's going to be constant agitation for about 2.5 to 3 minutes. And this is going to get all of the remaining fixer off. So we'll start the timer in just a hot second. Because now the fixer's off, which means I could take this out, expose it to daylight, and we'd be good. Alright, let us start the Washade timer. Yep, 2.5 minutes, and this is constant. There's no putting down, no taking a break every few seconds. This is churning. Yeah, Washade is basically OxyClean, and then the last step, which is the Ilfotol, is jet dry. I am genuinely surprised at my tap water tonight, because this is almost all the way on cold, and I'm still getting a temperature of 70 degrees. You say too many more As Seen on TV products, Tiny Dragon. The ghost of the late, great Billy Mays is going to burst through my patio door here like the Kool-Aid Man. But yeah, normally when I'm not developing a stream for a live audience, I usually do this in my bathroom, in the second bathroom we have in the apartment. And so, I do it out in the kitchen so that I have room for all of you, because I don't have room in my bathroom for my entire streaming setup. Also, I think it'd be a little weird, it's a nice, pleasant thing when I'm doing a film developing stream in my kitchen. Just be like, hey, hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. We could be doing some film developing tonight, as opposed to, hi everyone, welcome to my shitter, and we're going to develop some film tonight. Mildly weird. Just a little weird. All right, we are done with the washade. So the next step is going to be the final rinses. Yeah, I ain't getting any colder than 70 degrees. That tap is all the way over. So mote it be, then. So, my album ended and we've gone into copyrighted music. I need to change up the album. No. Like, wait a minute, we just shifted into a Yes album. That's, Alright. So after 2.5 minutes of constant agitation, we get what looks like soapy suds, but it isn't. It is not soap. Soap would ruin this. But it is definitely a cleaning agent for film. So I'm going to pour that out. If this was the bathroom sink, you'd see that the washade, as I'm pouring it out, has a very slight purple hue to it. That's the residual fixer that's coming off. So now we're just going to do a final rinse. And the final rinse is going to be for 5 minutes. And away we go. Hadn't you said something about silver collectors? No. Oh wait, I'm thinking of a different chemical. So, it's not ye old. It's not just ye old photography days. I mean, it still happens now, although to a far lesser extent. So, industrial photo labs would take, once the fixer was used, they would take the fixer, the used fixer, and they would pour it into a machine that was called a silver reclaiming unit. And it's usually like the more simpler ones it's basically a filter that is made out of steel wool, because the steel wool attracts the silver in solution draws it out, and so you have this silver that builds up on this steel wool. And then you could take this silver and, you know, usually you'd have some sort of contract with the film company of your choice. So I'll use Kodak. They were the biggest one. So Kodak would come by and collect these and recycle the silver, and when it would be used again on future film. But yes, the purple stuff, yes, that is what the purple stuff that comes out on the washade. That's the residual fixer, and which does have trace elements of silver in it. The washade would not normally get reclaimed. It would be the fixer. The fixer would contain the bulk of the suspended silver in solution. I don't develop anywhere near enough film to warrant having a silver reclaiming unit. I don't have it anywhere. So I think somebody did the math. With the amount of silver that gets used in a standard roll of film, I would have to develop at least 100 rolls of film to get anything appreciable. Over 100 rolls to get like an ounce of silver. Because the layer of silver nitrate, the silver compounds on a roll of film is microscopic. You cannot see the actual grains of silver. And that's also how film speed is determined. So you may have heard of things like 100 speed film, 400 speed film, 800 speed, and so on. That is an indicator of the size of the silver grains. The bigger the number, the larger the silver grains, which means less light is needed to cause a reaction on the emulsion. So that's why, you'd use 800 speed film in low light settings or action photography settings. Because you don't need as much light to get an image transfixed. Whereas, say, if you're using 100 speed film, it's best to use 100 speed in bright conditions or studio conditions. Because the grains of silver are much smaller. You need more light to get an image on the emulsion. What if you're Yukon Cornelius? That guy knows his silver. Well, then I guess you're just him. Bully for Yukon, I suppose. All right, and that is the end of the final rinse. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go to the Ilfotol. Which is that jet dry for film that I told you about. And how I know it's the last chemical is because I, like a smart person, labeled my bottle Ilfotol, last step. So I don't get it confused with the developer, which is in an exact same size and color bottle. So let's... And we only use enough of this stuff to cover the film. We don't fill up the entire chamber with it. Put that into camera view. We'll just run that for a minute. And then that's going to be... Then we will have called this a finished roll. And as I said at the beginning, if you missed it, I already know that this roll, like, I'm only going to get, like, maybe, like, half, maybe a little bit more than half the images on it because I was having camera issues. So I lost, like, the first third or so of the roll to issues. But I at least got half a roll out of it. I'm impressed. That's the first time that's ever happened with the rinse, where normally the faucet is kind of like dead center. That's where I get my, or a little bit like to like just a hair onto the cold side of the faucet. That's where I get my exact 68 in rinse. This is all cold is all the way over, and it was like, nope, you're not getting any colder than 70. Okay. All right. That is it. The film is done. And now we're going to see what we get. Now pull this out. I'm going to unscrew. Alright. That's not too bad. I got the studio ones. The studio images of McKenna came out. I'm looking forward to those. The other ones, yeah, I don't... When I scan them, I will have a look-see. But now I'm gonna put this on my shower rod in my bathroom so it can hang to dry. I will be back in just a hot second. All right. And that is how you develop a roll of film. At home. You don't need no stinking dark room. And then normally I would just clean up and go on with my day. So what's going to happen is that film is going to dry overnight. And then I'm going to scan it, and then I haven't decided yet next week if I'm going to do... It's probably going to be Thursday again. I'll edit those and some more from the last shoot with McKenna. That'll probably be next Thursday's art stream. Life has been busy. I'm looking forward to some quiet. I would like some quiet. quiet would be absolutely lovely. So how long have I been on for? Almost an hour and 40 minutes at this point. Any of you out there have any questions for me? Any other photography-related things you want me to yak about while I'm starting to clean up here? If not, just enjoy the sounds of running sink water, I suppose. There was a few weeks ago, there was, in the village of Round Lake near me, they had their annual Makers Market, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous weekend of exactly what it sounds like. It's vendors of all sorts selling all types of arts and crafts, and it was the first time I had gone there, and I was blown away. I thought it was going to be like a lot of other craft fairs in the area that I've seen, where it's mostly, late middle-aged or elderly women selling whatever. But no, this was great. There was a photographer there that was selling gorgeous landscape photographs, and he still shoots film. All the images came off of color medium format film, and I said, oh, bless you, film is not dead. Favorite underrated photographers? Ooh. Well, I do have one, actually, and he's actually one of my biggest inspirations. Now, you've heard the name. Everyone knows who this guy is, but a lot of people don't necessarily know that he was also a professional photographer. Leonard Nimoy. One of my favorite things that Leonard Nimoy did, and you may have heard me mention this before, he did a body of work called The Full Body Project. And it was a series of nude photographs. I think it was... Oh, I have the book. I can just go get it. Called The Full Body Project. It was burlesque dancers out in California. Large women. And I loved it. I loved that series so much. And he's done a lot of other work as well. But, again, you hear Leonard Nimoy, you think, most people primarily think Mr. Spock. Or if you are a huge fan of Kingdom Hearts, Master Xehanort. He was the voice there as well. Or if you're also, of a certain class of nerd, The Hobbit. But yes, he is, as far as favorite underrated photographers, he is up there. He sure did a thing with that. Yes. Yes, indeed. Like what got me into the type of photography I'm doing now. There was a group of photographers in the 1920s and the 1930s that they called themselves Group F64. And this was really like the first major... This was made up of photographers that primarily they had decided that they had enough of the art establishment. Because, modern photography is almost 200 years old. Photography as we know it is almost 200 years old. But for a long time, it struggled to gain legitimacy as an art form because, if somebody was trying to, make serious art with it, you'd have the snobby critics that would say, no, 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 it's not art. The machine made it. Where's the artist's hand? A machine made it. You just pushed a... Well, we didn't have SLRs yet. So you're like, a machine does it. You just take the cap off the lens and the machine does all the work. So, like, one of the earliest photography movements were the pictorialists, and these were artists, photographers who they made photographs, but they tried to give them a painterly or an illustrative quality to them. So they would, as the negative was developing, they would take like a paintbrush and they'd put brush strokes on it, or try to make the photograph look less like a regular photograph that we'd see every day, to something a little bit more artiste, to please the critics and those who said that photography was not a legit art form because it was done by machine. So there was a group of photographers who worked a lot in the pictorialist movement who decided, fuck that. There is art and there's beauty to be had in just regular, straight photography, as the term was called, straight photography. And so you had this group that was comprised of people like Alfred Stieglitz, Edward Weston, who's one of my all-time favorites, Ansel Adams, Imogen Cunningham. I think Dorothea Lange also got in there as well. Paul Strand, And then as photography started to become a very started to be an accepted form of art, of artistic expression, then George Eastman and the Kodak company, they come out with the Kodak Brownie, and they make photography accessible to the general public for the first time. And then suddenly the art photographers become the gatekeepers, which I just thought was fucking hysterical. Like, as soon as you made photography available to the public, suddenly, oh no, that's it, you've ruined it, done, that's it, we can't, nope, it's not, no, that's it. Now the common rabble have it, that ruined. Which was emphatically not true, because how do you get new photographers to come into your medium in the first place? So... after those art photographers got over themselves. Yeah. But that's the case with any art medium. It's growing pains. Alrighty. It is getting near 9:30, my friends, and I have finished developing the film for you. So you'll see what develops next week. And, so, again, I'm Brian J. French. If you are, again, interested in my art, type in !art. That'll take you to my card page, which has links to all the places you can find me. Website, Instagram, Patreon, Vero, Redbubble, Pictus. That's a new one I've added to the lineup. And, oh, hi, Winged. Thank you much for that. So yeah, we'll see what comes out of all of this. I'll scan that film probably this weekend after it's finished drying. So the rest of my stream schedule for the week. So tomorrow is a question mark. Tomorrow's a question mark. There are plans that may or may not fall through, and if they wind up changing or falling through, then you will see me tomorrow evening, most likely, for more Xenosaga. as I try to slog my way through the second to last dungeon of the game. So, alrighty, my friends. Thank you so much for spending some of your Thursday evening with me. And until I see you guys again, stay healthy, stay safe, wear your masks, go get fucking vaccinated, go get boosted, all of that fun stuff. And I'll either see you tomorrow night or Monday. But whatever the case, good night. Enjoy. Be with you all, everyone. Be well.